Hello guys, I'm Theme Park Cody, and we're looking at live nest footage on the bottom left corner from Fox Weather, and then we've also got the storm studios popped up in the background, and we've got a few minutes just at 5:30 Eastern time. Right now it's 5:27 Eastern time, and at 5:30 Eastern time we're expecting Governor of Florida to give an announcement, to do a speech and give some updates. Looks like Naples and some other areas are going to be under curfew tonight, and we hope they're all safe over there in Florida. I'm in Houston, so I'm out of the way of harm, but I'm trying to give you guys some coverage now. And we've got severe wind gust in Venice fishing pier. Earlier today, we had, I believe at Punta Gorda Airport, we had wind gusts recorded of a 124 or more. As you can see at the bottom, we got a log just floating there in the street here on this nest cam. The water has submerged the street, and so this is a dual threat. We've got water and we've got the wind. It's not looking too good, as the storm seems to be slowing down actually, which means that more water is just gonna keep pouring down. See if we can get Governor DeSantis And the video footage of the nest cam was actually from Fox Weather, and of course we're looking at Severe Studios in the background. Let's see what they have to say live now from Fox, right before, I believe, Governor shall be going live.
That's Hardy County down there, working north of I-4, arriving in Orlando shortly before midnight, then continuing and really raining through about 5 a.m. So there will be hours ahead where the rain is coming down in a way that a lot of people just haven't seen it rain. Right now, we're picking up some heavy rain around the region, and Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Ian Landfall is tracking that right now in the storm center. Ian, some of these storms earlier have produced tornadoes. We've got videos all over social media of the tornado warnings that we were warning for that actually verified. People saw the funnels coming down. How's it looking right now, and do you see that happening inside of the next 2 hours?
In the next 2 hours, we have those conditions favorable for it, and that's what we're really going to be watching is any of these storms, especially on the south end where we have not much action going on. We're going to be watching for these storms to potentially have that, or at least have that potential for tornadoes, because we are looking at that movement around the hurricane. It is moving north.
Looks like we're not, we don't have Governor speaking yet, but we do have no active tornado warnings here in the last moments, but the flooding risk is going to be commonplace in these areas. I'm just going to switch back over to Severe Studios, see if he's speaking over here. No, we're just still getting static. Alright, well, let's get another look at what's going on with these storms through Fox.
Where the rain rates right now, let me pull that up because that is going to be something that I'm sure is running very high. We're seeing some really heavy rain, and I'll pull that here showing you those rain rates that are probably upwards of 5 to 6 inches an hour. We're seeing 4.6, 5 inches an hour. And while this has good movement to it, these storms are moving at about 20, 25 miles per hour. That's something that helps because you don't have this sitting on top of you for very long. The issue is the prolonged period of this event is going to extend that flooding threat. So you'll pick up a couple inches here, a couple inches there, 2-3 inches here. It's going to be this throughout the course of this event, and that all adds up as water has nowhere to go. So currently we're seeing the heaviest rates right now moving into Seminole County. There's Oviedo. It is moving to northwest. Oviedo has already picked up a few inches of rain here so far today. And when going back here to at least the reflectivity showing you the heavier rain, we're seeing some of those heavy downpours that are moving from west to east and from Mims stretching to Bithlo, University Park, and it's lighter currently right over Orlando, but the heaviest rain is now moving into parts of Seminole County up to Sanford, where I actually did have a report here I wanted to share with you guys. We had a report of 48 miles per hour at the Sanford Airport in Brooks. These winds, these wind gusts are starting to really rise, and that's only going to be through the rest of this afternoon and evening and overnight.
I've been texting my wife in Oviedo, and the power's been flickering on and off, and I think now it's off for good.
So you hear the power in certain places flickering on and off, and probably off for good. And we did have a wind gust recorded at 124 miles per hour or more at Punta Gorda Airport earlier today. I do want to show you guys, while we're waiting on the governor, did want to show you guys some footage from a PhD Reed Timmer. He got some incredible footage. I'm watching this hurricane. Yeah, see the wind gust? Yeah.
The oven's out.
The oven's out?
Yeah. I don't know if we just need to flip the breaker or if it's showing some code. I don't know. Wow. That's scary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is scary.
Pray for them.
Yeah, pray for them.
Oh man! Getting debris! Getting debris! Getting debris!
Ready? I'm going to Astros game, okay?
You going to the Astros game?
Yeah.
Get big debris!
Okay.
He got one here! Alright! He got one here on Flying Island right now! Coming in with Hurricane Ian! Category 4 Hurricane Ian right now! Flying debris! We're gonna fly debris out here! There it is! Surge coming! surge right now. Hurricane Ian coming over the wall. South side of Pine Island. Just ripping as the eye wall's wobbling in. Small chance the eye might even come ashore. Gotta be careful out here for flying debris, certainly. Strongest hurricane yet. I've intercepted at least on the coast here with onshore flow. Big south, westerly. Look at the home here. Taking a lot of damage. Starting to inundate the bottom floor. This is it, everybody. Live from Pine Island. Hurricane Ian coming in. Passing an onshore flow here. Pure onshore flow, certainly. And that palm tree just ripping right now. Oh, they're dominating! Big surge. I think we've got big surge. Here comes. Big surge. Whoa! It's funneled right around the terrain, folks. Funneled right around the terrain. Look at the palm tree just ripping right now. And Hurricane Ian, wave upon wave. This is how storm surge operates. One after another. Continues to get pounded out here, and it's gonna go for the eye.
Gotta be safe in weather like this, guys. I know it goes without being said, but this is dangerous what he's doing. But he is a professional.
Yep, get work. Get work.
Good news is that Venice Fishing Pier, the wind has calmed down a little bit, although it is going pretty good still. Alright, we're gonna try to see if we can get the governor. He should be speaking any minute now.
Storm surge, as was predicted. We've also seen major flooding in places like Collier County, Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach. You're also seeing inland flooding because of the inundation that you're seeing. So some of the counties in the interior of the state are seeing major water events as well. We do know that Lee, Hendry, and Glades 911 call centers are being rerouted. Those comms are down, so calls are being answered, and teams and the people that are calling are being noted, and then those local first responders will deploy as soon as it's safe to do so. Now, obviously, local responders can make decisions, but by and large, until the storm passes, they are not going to go into a situation for rescue and put their own folks at risk. And so we know that there are folks who are in the really high risk zone A evacuation zones who did not evacuate. Some have called in, and those people are being logged, and there will be a response, but it's likely going to take a little time for this storm to move forward so that it's safe for the first responders to be able to do. We are getting reports, but it's going to take a little bit more time to know exactly in terms of structural damage, but we are getting some reports of structural damage in both Lee and Charlotte counties. But I would say overwhelmingly it's been that surge that has been the biggest issue, and the flooding that has resulted as a result of that. In some areas, we think it's hit 12 feet. Now, it is our meteorologists' view that the storm surge has likely peaked and will likely be less in the coming hours than it has been up to this point. But we know that this has been a big storm, and it's done a lot of damage as it is. It is going to continue to move through the state of Florida. You're going to see hurricane force winds in places in central Florida, perhaps. It's clearly a very strong tropical storm all the way until it exits the Florida peninsula in the Atlantic Ocean. There are, as much as we're focused on Southwest Florida, very important, obviously, when you have a storm of this nature. I think at landfall, it's going to be behind only the Labor Day hurricane, Hurricane Andrew, and Hurricane Michael in terms of intensity. I think we're going to end up seeing that. It may end up being a Category 5, but at a minimum, it's going to be a very strong Category 4 that's going to rank as one of the top 5 hurricanes to ever hit the Florida Peninsula. So that damage is ongoing. It's very, very important. But the fact is, there's going to be damage throughout the whole state, and people in other parts of the state, be prepared for some impacts. And you are seeing counties in different parts of the state issue evacuation orders. Clay County in Northeast Florida, which we do anticipate some major flooding events in Northeast Florida. I think folks that are familiar with the St. Johns River know that when you have weather like this, you will see this. And so Clay County has issued mandatory evacuations of low-lying areas along the St. Johns River. Flagler County has issued mandatory evacuations of its barrier islands, low-lying areas, and mobile homes. Nassau has issued evacuation orders for low-lying areas. St. Johns County is evacuating coastal and low-lying areas, including the city of St. Augustine, as well as the city of St. Augustine Beach. Putnam County has recommended evacuation for low-lying areas and areas that have a history of flooding, and Sumter County is advising evacuations of mobile homes. And so those are places that are hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the initial impact in Southwest Florida, and yet they are having to evacuate folks that are living in vulnerable areas. We have over 1.1 million reported power outages. Now, there are crews that are still working outside of Southwest Florida, but just understand that number is going to grow. You're going to see more power outages as this storm moves through the center part of our state and before it exits into the Atlantic coast. There are 100 portable cell phone towers ready to be deployed into Southwest Florida once it is safe to enter, and should that be needed. We want to make sure people are staying out of the way of emergency crews and out of flood waters and away from all down power lines. As soon as emergency crews can get in, they are going to get in. As soon as it's safe to go and clear the roadways, Florida Department of Transportation is going to go in and clear those roadways. These are all on standby. They are ready to go. They understand the importance of a really, really quick response. As I mentioned earlier today, we have now officially sent the letter with the request to the Biden administration for a major disaster declaration for all 67 counties, requesting the federal government do 100% reimbursement up front for 60 days to ensure that we can quickly move forward into this response and recovery phase. And I know sometimes they wait till different damage assessments are made, but in this situation, you got a massive Category 4 storm that you compare Charlie to this. This is way, way, way bigger than Charlie. It was as strong as Charlie coming in, but Charlie was much smaller. So this is a big one, and I think we all know there's going to be major impacts. We are, not only are there 42,000 linemen, they are positioned all across the state of Florida. As soon as it's safe to go, those personnel are going to go in to resume power, and that's something that's very, very important. In terms of rescue efforts, obviously there's robust efforts in each of these counties. I mean, some of these are major counties in our state, like Lee County, Collier County. They've got great response teams. The state of Florida, we are providing a lot of support that's staged and ready to go. We have almost 250 aircraft, more than 1,600 high water vehicles, and more than 300 boats of all drafts and sizes, including 250 already stationed in the major impacted areas, and nearly 50 that are staged and immediately ready to come in. And so with water this high, these operations may need to be waterborne operations. Now, there are some where you're going to need to use the water to get to some of the barrier islands anyways. But you look at like Collier County, I mean, downtown Naples is flooded. It's probably going to subside as the time goes on, but they're prepared for a lot of different eventualities. We're thankful for the states that have sent us resources, and we're very, very appreciative of them stepping up and helping Florida. As this storm passes your community, understand it's still a very hazardous situation. You're going to have down power lines. You're going to have a possibility of harm's way because of standing water, misuse of generators. I asked the Department of Emergency Management, Kevin, to produce for me the rundown of the fatalities through direct impacts of storms versus the aftermath. And in Hurricane Irma, there were 7 fatalities directly because of the storm, and there were 77 that were a result of post-storm. And a lot of that is standing water, down power lines, misuse of generators. So please just take precaution. Obviously, a ferocious storm coming in, very hazardous, very ominous. We know the life-threatening nature of that. But once the storm goes, once there's apparent calm, there are still plenty of hazards out there. So just please make sure that you're taking the proper precautions. I'm happy that Volunteer Florida has now activated the Florida Disaster Fund. Sometimes people say, hey, we want to help. What can we do? And there's really two things you can do. One, send some donations, money. The other can be donate your time. What's not helpful is sending items and sending things to us. We have a lot of stuff pre-positioned. If there's a need for other stuff, Kevin and his team will work. FEMA, all these other groups can work to provide that. But if you provide money to some volunteer organizations and charity groups, they can make a big impact in people's lives. And if you're willing to volunteer your time, there's going to be ways you can be put to work, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need help on the back end of this thing. So if you want to contribute, you can go to floridadisasterfund.org or text disaster to 20222. For those who want to come and volunteer, we have an official volunteer portal at Volunteer Florida, www.volunteerflorida.org, to find volunteer opportunities. This storm is doing a number on the state of Florida. It is going to continue to move through this state today and through much of tomorrow. And there's going to continue to be a number of adverse effects. I can tell you that as soon as it moves beyond Southwest Florida, you're going to see a massive surge of personnel and supplies to be able to help those who are in need, get people back on their feet, and help to rebuild those communities. Kevin?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. think every.
As you heard the governor say, this thing's not over yet. It's gonna go into the night and surely into tomorrow. And then, of course, if you want to offer up your time to volunteer, if you can. Obviously, if you live in this area, it's going to be fairly emotionally draining. And so time and money. What else? See what else they have to say.
Extremely committed to being involved in this response, and he was here with me till late last night, and he was here with me early this morning, and he has not been anywhere but very near me the entire time. So, Governor, thank you so much for your leadership in that area. I mean, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to the leadership. As the governor said, Hurricane Ian has made landfall this afternoon as a Category 4. Winds of 155 miles an hour. I'm not going to read all the statistics that the governor has mentioned, but I'll bring a couple of new ones here. 1,100 resource requests have been we've received 1,100 resource requests. We have fulfilled 900 of those. Again, the difference of the 200 is stuff that we just cannot get out on the road right now. We're working as quickly as possible to address those needs. We have well over 200 shelters open. We have 42,000 restoration personnel. We literally have, with first responders across the state and additional ones coming in, there's well over 10,000 responders statewide ready to do stuff. As the storm makes its way across Florida, I remind Floridians to stay indoors if you're in the path of the storm. If you're sheltering in place in the path of a storm and you still have power and Wi-Fi, please visit floridadisaster.org/info to fill out our shelter-in-place survey. We've had a lot of people answer that and give us that information. That helps us provide critical information to first responders about the demographics of your household so that they can aid your family as soon as possible. Please keep in mind that first responders may not be able to immediately enter impacted areas to assist you due to the safety hazards. I will say we are planning a 3-prong response to handle that specific issue. We have personnel staged to come in via ground, via vehicles. We have personnel staged to come in via air with aerial deployed search and rescue assets. And then we also have the Coast Guard and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission ready to come in by sea for those barrier islands and beachfront properties. So we will have a response mechanism that involves all 3 of those arms. Shelter-in-place survey, again, I just reiterated, is floridadisaster.org/info. If you need immediate assistance, please dial 911. That site is not a replacement for 911. If it is calm outside, you may be in the eye of the storm. As the eye of the storm continues to move inland, is getting ready to enter areas such as Hendry County, Glades County, do not go outside if all of a sudden the wind stops. In this situation, that means you're in the eye of the hurricane. Seek shelter immediately. Get into an interior room and protect yourself. Do not walk or drive through flooded areas. Floodwaters can stall your car and sweep you and your car away in the blink of an eye. We received reports of isolated tornadoes across east central Florida. If you're in a tornado warning, again, seek an interior room free of windows. Get low and put something over the top of your head to protect yourself. If a tornado warning, self-deployments. We do not want individuals self-deploying out on their own. That is very, very dangerous. Leave that to the professionals that are trained in how to do that. Do not take your personal boat out in these situations. We do not want to have to respond to yet another problem. The governor mentioned there are more deaths as a result of indirect situations than the actual direct situation of storm surge wind at the beginning of a storm. So please, what we want you to do more than anything else is stay safe. Please be careful out there. Again, Governor, thank you.
Do we have the Cajun Navy? They're on the way, right?
There are reports that they are on the way.
So I think the Cajun Navy is on the way, and okay, there we go. I mean, look, we really welcome. I mean, those are some really battle-hardened folks, and so Florida welcomes their support, and honestly, particularly Louisiana, because they've dealt with so much, and so the governor's been great. And look, we've got a long way to go before this storm exit the state, and there's going to be a lot of need to get into these communities, particularly in Southwest Florida, and offer the immediate assistance. But I do think the three-pronged strategy, we're going in by ground, air, and by sea, means that all hands are on deck, and there's going to be people that are going to be in harm's way. And what I've said is, the folks were told in these areas of the hazards. They were given time to be able to make arrangements and to leave. Some chose not to do that. They would have probably been better off doing that. Nevertheless, if people are in harm's way, we're going to go and do whatever we can to help those folks. And so that is those operations are going to commence as soon as it's safe to do so. Certainly, I would say, no later than first thing in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no later. As soon as it's light outside and people are able to do it, and then it begins with the clearing the roads, making sure that the electrical folks can get in there. I was able to thank a number of these linemen. We went over to Lake City, where a number of them are staged. These are great folks. They're coming from all across the country. I mean, I met people from Alabama, from Texas, from Louisiana. They're all coming to Florida. When we were driving back to Tallahassee from Lake City, I saw this beautiful sight of all these electrical vehicles coming where they had all the electrical equipment on, and these are folks that are going to help put people's power back on. It was just a procession of them. So we talked about 42,000. I'll bet you after today there's probably going to be significantly even more. So you really are seeing just a great logistical effort to put all hands on deck in this response. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Governor, you mentioned getting calls from people who have not evacuated, calls for help. About how many calls people are we talking about here?
Kevin, you want to take that?
So right now, I don't want to give you a solid number because it'd be a guess. I know earlier today we had the initial report was 21, and then we, because of the 911 issues in that Southwest Florida area, we had one small rural county that was answering calls for the larger county, saying that they had hundreds of calls. So I can't really quantify that right now, but just go off the words that the emergency management directors at the local level told me. Sorry.
Yes.
Have you spoken to the president at all about getting that 100% coverage? I mean, has he? I know there's a lot of folks out there who are pushing for Florida to get that 100% coverage, but I know. So
when we spoke yesterday, I mean, he said, all hands on deck, that he wants to be helpful, and he said, ask whatever you need, ask us. He was inviting us to request support, and so that we think that this is probably the best thing that we can get at this juncture, given what we're dealing with, and so hopefully we'll get a favorable response on that.
Mr. Guthrie mentioned this earlier, but this is obviously a big flooding event, and a lot of these places might not have flood insurance. Do you have a sense of, how exposed a lot of these people are who don't have coverage from flood insurance?
Not yet, but I think the issue is significant in the sense that these are not people that necessarily live in a quote flood zone. They live and they're asked, the realtor says, you're not in a flood zone. Well, they're not going to get the flood insurance. And I totally understand why people don't do that. But just because you're not in a quote flood zone does not mean that you're not at risk of a catastrophic event like this. And so I think you're going to see some clearly. How many, that remains to be seen. Now, there are programs that FEMA has to try to provide relief for people, but it is not going to be commensurate to having had a policy. And so this is an issue that we're going to have to deal with. But I do think it will be something, because we deal with this in other storms across the country, including Florida. When you have this about the homeowners policy will cover certain things, but the flood policy covers probably the most significant risk for most homeowners in Florida, given the risk of flooding that we have in so many different parts of our state. So we're sensitive to that. There's obviously going to be some folks that are going to be in need of support and relief, and we're obviously going to work as best we can. I will say that people have been asking about some of the overall homeowners insurance with like Citizens. Citizens, I think right now they're between $6 and $7 billion of surplus. They're modeling based on paying out a lot of money in claims for this, was that they would still have between $4 and $5 billion in surplus, and so they themselves as being able to weather this. Individual carriers, they have to go through a stress test to be able to have their policies approved, and so this year they had tested under a direct impact on Tampa Bay, then what would happen. And so they have policies, they have reinsurance, we have our RAP program, and of course the CAT fund. But for citizens, they feel very strongly that they're going to be able to handle.
Fox 35 News starts now. Tracking Ian.
Holy that's a tornado.
Just got some unbelievable video into our newsroom from Fort Myers. It's, of course, being hit with the brunt of Hurricane Ian right now. Viewer Becky Hinshaw sent this our way, showing the view from her balcony. Now, we don't know yet if what she saw was actually a tornado, but we do know the winds were whipping around fast. You could also see all the flooding out there. The whole pavilion of her apartment complex and the pools completely underwater. She also filmed the stairwell leading to the apartment's parking garage that's totally cut off by floodwaters as well.
Hurricane Ian making landfall here in Florida about 3 hours ago, and a new track was just released an hour ago. That storm is now over Florida.
And the Fox 35 storm team is tracking everything today. So let's talk about the impacts, guys. What are you seeing at this point?
Well, the big rain has started, and it's only going to get worse. Ian and I have been looking at the latest.
Live in a quote flood zone. They live and they're asked, the realtor says, you're not in a flood zone. Well, they're not going to get the flood insurance. And I totally understand why people don't do that. But just because you're not in a quote flood zone does not mean that you're not at risk of a catastrophic event like this. And so I think you're going to see some clearly. How many, that remains to be seen. Now, there are programs that FEMA has to try to provide relief for people, but it is not going to be commensurate to having had a policy. And so this is an issue that we're going to have to deal with. But I do think it will be something, because we deal with this in other storms across the country, including Florida. When you have this about the homeowners policy will cover certain things, but the flood policy covers probably the most significant risk for most homeowners in Florida, given the risk of flooding that we have in so many different parts of our state. So we're sensitive to that. There's obviously going to be some folks that are going to be in need of support and relief, and we're obviously going to work as best we can. I will say that people have been asking about some of the overall homeowners insurance with like Citizens. Citizens, I think right now they're between $6 and $7 billion of surplus. They're modeling, based on paying out a lot of money in claims for this, was that they would still have between $4 and $5 billion in surplus, and so they themselves as being able to weather this. Individual carriers, they have to go through a stress test to be able to have their policies approved, and so this year they had tested under a direct impact on Tampa Bay, then what would happen. And
All right, as you hear there, they did do a stress test, directly impact on Tampa Bay, and that's pretty close to where we got hit here. And this is remarkable. The storm was in Punta Gorda earlier, and it was fairly calm, and now the camera, you can barely see anything because of just how strong these winds are. Let's see what Severe Studios has to say.
About drug him down the street. Don't mean to laugh, but my goodness. My goodness. But that's what Cantori lives for, people. He is what he is. Philip says, thank you for this coverage. I haven't stopped watching on the TV since this morning. I'm born and raised in Punta Gorda, and all my friends and family are still there. Oh my goodness. Well, Philip, I hope that I hope they're okay. I hope they're okay. He says, I'm glad I moved to Ocala. Yeah. Although it could have been heading right for Ocala. I mean, it was looking like it was heading north of Tampa for a while. Ocala would have been right in line.
Yeah, wow. Hearing from somebody who used to live in, and, well, their friends are all in Punta Gorda. Wow. Incredible.
His wishes that the team stay safe. Thanks us for our coverage. Bob, we thank you for watching the coverage here today. All right. So, again, big thanks to Philip. Big thanks to Bob. And huge, huge, huge thanks to Judy. let's look at what else is going on across this entire region here. I cannot believe these winds in Punta Gorda right now.
Yeah, same. It is very hard. These winds have just escalated. And he's doing Punta Gorda audio right now.
So the only camera I have turned up is the one that's on the screen. We have almost 1.3 million customers without power currently in Florida. 1.3 million customers without power in Florida. Just absolutely insane. And that number will continue to get larger and larger. All right. Ian is on shore, made landfall about an hour and a half ago. Here is the latest advisory as of 6 p.m. Oh, actually, do we not have 6 p.m. yet? Here we go. 6 p.m. update. We're down to 130 mile per hour winds sustained. That is still a Cat 4. 130 mile per hour sustained winds. That is still a Cat 4. It's on the low side, but it's a Cat 4. It is moving northeast at 8 miles per hour. Hardly moving. A coastal monitoring wind tower reported minimum pressure 953 millibars.
Not good that it's slowing down. That means it's going to be pouring down more rain.
104 miles per hour in the northern eye wall. So again, as of 6 p.m. Eastern time, the center of the storm is about 15 miles northeast of Punta Gorda, with the backside of the eye slamming Punta Gorda still right now. That's about 110 miles southwest of Orlando, heading in that general direction at 8 miles per hour. And the storm surge continues down to the south. I mean, that's really the story. Fort Myers Beach, Fort Myers, the surge. The surge, the surge, the surge. That's the deadly part. That's the dangerous part. But these winds in Punta Gorda right now are something else.
going by some tree.
Freddie McKinney is currently scouring the internet trying to find some current wind reports here. Punta Gorda, Florida, still getting absolutely battered with the backside of Ian, which as of 20 minutes ago was still Category 4. The latest that we have here, the Cape Coral Yacht Club, south of here, obviously. 106 sustained with a gust to 140. 106 sustained with a gust to 140, and that was about an hour ago in Cape Coral. So down here, southwest of Fort Myers. This hurricane is crawling along at 8 miles per hour. And it is just... it's just not moving. And it needs to get out of here. That's what I have to say about it. So there's the center. Things starting to get very disorganized, thankfully. But if you look at our surge cam here from Punta Gorda, Surgy 8. Nope, this is not a loop. This is live. It's been live for the last 4 hours and 12 minutes. Solid. From Punta Gorda without missing a beat. And this is some of the strongest winds we have seen all day in Punta Gorda. You'd say, what's going on there? I thought you said the eye was going to come over. Well, the eye did come over, basically. There it was. They were in the eye. They were doing okay. I saw some peaks of sunshine for like 2 seconds. And then what happened? A mesovortex. You can see it start to spin up right there. And it spun up right over Punta Gorda. And again, that's basically a tornado in the eye of the hurricane. It spins around over Punta Gorda and moves off to the northeast. And then the back side of the eye wall came in. The west side of the eye wall is what you're seeing now. So as far as wind is concerned, Punta Gorda over and over. Punta Gorda, 101 mile per hour gusts measured. Okay, gust to 101. So my 100 mile per hour estimate was pretty good, but a chaser in the area in Punta Gorda, the best we can do, gusts to about 101 miles per hour. About a half hour ago, so that does not surprise me in the least. Somebody correcting me 7 hours into this. 9 hours into this. Wow, I lost 2 hours. Punta Gorda? I've heard both ways. Punta Gorda, Punta Gorda. Okay, what does the chat room say? Punta or Punta? This should be interesting. I've been saying Punta Gorda for 9 hours. Any updates on the surge levels on Sanibel? not yet. Punta. Punta, 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 punta. Look at all you guys. A couple punts, but mostly punts. 65 years, native Floridian, all caps. It's punta. It's punta. It's punta. It's punta. I was raised here and it's punta. Oh, I love it. I love it. Everybody in the area says it a different way. 50% say punta, 50% say punta, and everything is wrong. That's weather in general, right? You tell people that the hurricane is going to Tampa and it goes south of Tampa. Technically it was wrong, but technically it was pretty right compared to all of the coastline. It's the same thing with pronunciations. Can't win, cannot win. Everybody's mad all the time. Oh my goodness. Hey, guess what? I'm sticking with punta. So I guess the half of you that don't like that, then I still appreciate you being here. All right, Freddie McKinney, if you're still with me out there, we're going to go back to camera 1 in box 1. Can we go to 1 in 1, please? No, we can't, because I broke the player. Well, that's sad. All right, let's try that again. So we're going to go to Surge Cam 1, which is also... double checking, because I can't even remember anymore. Yeah, Fort Myers Beach. Fort Myers Beach. I think this is the last 4 cameras that we have. Thanks, buddy. All right. So here's the 4 cameras that we have live. Punta Gorda getting it the most. Still breezy at Venice Fishing Pier. Siesta Key, pretty calm actually. And Fort Myers Beach getting hammered just about as good as Punta Gorda. On 8. Debris on Sergi 8. Winds calming down just a little bit. You can see back to Punta Gorda. And I'm telling you, one of these things is not like the others, right? And that camera would be it. So, go Sergi 8. Live coverage continues here from SevereStudios.com. Corey Hartman here with you still in the Severe Studios headquarters. It is about 6:40 Eastern Time. Jumping on here real quick just to say a big thank you to a few people here. First of all, want to give a big thank you to, I believe it's Elick, E-L-Y-K. I'm going to go with Elick or Elik, possibly. Anyway, thank you very, very much for your $100 super chat donation. I mean, my goodness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That will help get our guys home, pay for some repairs, maybe a new camera, part of a new camera. They're way more than $100, but yours is going to go toward that, and we thank you very, very much for that. Elik, E-L-Y-K. Thank you very much. I'm assuming at the next update we will be down to a Cat 3, which is still quite devastating, damaging. The winds just continue in Punta Gorda, by the way. Let's go back to that cam for a while. And we still just are getting the brunt here in Punta Gorda. It'll be over in a couple hours. That's all I can say on that deal. There was a new flash flood warning issued, too, about 45 minutes ago. Hardy, DeSoto, Highlands, Charlotte, Lee, Manatee, and Sarasota counties until 9 p.m. Wow. Between 5 and 16 inches of rain has fallen. And additional rainfall amounts of 3 to 6 inches possible. That's a lot of rain. That is a lot of rain. Again, Hardy, DeSoto, Highlands, Charlotte, Lee, Manatee, and Sarasota counties. Between 5 and 16 inches of rain has already fallen, and another 6 possible. And that Gorda. And we thank you for being along. You are watching live coverage from SevereStudios.com. We put out 9 cameras along the beach. We have 4 remaining that are still working. 4 are still working here. Fort Myers Beach, Punta Gorda, Siesta Key, and the Venice Pier. Mesovortex inside the eye. This afternoon. Punta Gorda getting the worst of the wind. Fort Myers Beach down to Naples getting the worst of the surge. MJ says, great job. Hope you can replace your broken cameras. MJ, I hope we can too. I think most of them are just down because the power and internet and cellular is out across the region. I think we'll recover most of them, but I'm assuming we will have to replace a few. So MJ, again, that'll go toward that. We appreciate you very much. Again, we appreciate Melinda and Alik. Thank you very much for your $100 donation here today. Of course, a portion of the proceeds we will give back to local charities, as there's going to need to be a lot of rebuilding in this lots of reports out of there, but communications are down. Down. Someone says, love the coverage. Thank you for your service. And Americans are helping each other in troubled times. That's why we're here. We have had almost 750,000 people check out our live stream so far today. And currently, a little over 13,000 people watching at one time. You guys are amazing, amazing people. Thank you for coming and going and watching and donating and everything else that you've been doing here this afternoon as we have been rolling for a little over 9 hours straight so far today. To be on camera this long, and it's still holding on. I think some of the branches, the fronds on the bottom of that palm tree did get ripped off when that mesovortex went through a little bit earlier. As we kind of look at some of the other things going on here, again, here's a look at Fort Myers Beach. We've definitely tipped over some boats. I see one that has kind of leaned over in the bay here. And we are, thanks a lot, bud. All right, we're looking at that, quite a bit of damage there, things stacked up at the bottom of your screen. Not a good look there. I only see one mast in the air right now. There were 3 or 4 there when the day started in Fort Myers Beach. So, my goodness. Okay, so let's go down to... let's go up the coast to Siesta Key. And Siesta Key has not, you have really, really lucked out here. Clearwater, Tampa, St. Pete, and even down as far as Longboat Key, Sarasota, and where this camera is at Siesta Key. We're just not seeing the winds like we've seen in the rest of this region. And so be thankful and, help out your... And the winds have come back up a little bit in Venice. There's kind of this outer eye wall here, or whatever this little feature is right here. It's going through Venice again right now, and the winds have picked back up at the fishing pier. So not over for you in Venice and Northport and Englewood.
Judy said a while back, I really enjoyed your vlog on Abracadabra. You had so much fun inside. Yeah, I had such a great time there. Once this stream does end, if you guys are looking for some extra content besides the, to take breaks from some of the Hurricane Ian news, we have a ton of content here on the channel. Even though we're relatively new, over the last year and a half, we've really put a lot of time, work, and effort into it. And There's a lot of different kind of videos. We have all different kinds of playlists. We do a lot of different things. So check out the channel.
This is a storm surge that we talked about, but we weren't sure about. When we ask you guys to stay off the road, we're not kidding. What is this? Floating stuff. Just another day at Naples Fire Rescue.
I'm Amy Freeze. Welcome to Fox Weather's YouTube.
As the experts feared, Hurricane Ian has made landfall in Florida, and the experts say if you had plans to leave and haven't, stay where you are. The storm has intensified
destruction. Take a look at the cars now. They're all bunched. Monster. Those flashes, lightning.
I can't hear anything and I can't see anything.
Here's where the water comes up to 3 feet.
Check out the Weather Channel's gripping 3D simulation of what a 9-foot storm surge looks like.
9 feet. That can completely submerge some buildings, homes, businesses. This, in many cases, is not survivable.
Look at the wind howling through here.
Their reporters were in the thick of it.
It's Alicia, thank you for your donation. Phil Easter, $100. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. He says, thanks for the great coverage and the charity donation as well. Yes, we will definitely donate a portion of what we're doing to a local charity that can help out directly. Probably one further to the south around the Fort Myers Beach area and that general vicinity. So,
yeah, we saw Fort Myers footage earlier. Actually, my microphone was off when I thought it was on, so and this is Fort Myers. Just a boat floating out there. I think might have seen this footage earlier, but this looks higher quality for some reason. From Loney, yeah, we saw this earlier. Cars submerged.
no. Nope. Probably
Camera
not.
9 is not coming back on, they say. But here's Earth Cam. And Cape Coral.
And again, the
Florida.
next update here any minute. Is it safe to go to Key West? From where? I wouldn't be driving anywhere in Florida, in the southern 2/3 of Florida right now. Let's... Yeah? Venice is out of power and communications? No, I think further south of that is out of power and comms. We still have 2 live streams from Venice? 1. Yeah, we're still live from the fishing pier. Tacoma Joe, Punta Gorda, is home, lives in New York, sends love to his family, and Tacoma Joe sends us $5 and says we're doing great. Joe, couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, great job over there at Severe Studios. Yeah, if you're trying to get around in Florida, it's going to be touch and go, really. Touch and go.
Yeah, wasn't that well, I can't remember where that was. Was that the Wynniewood Day? Those were the best burgers ever. They were ice cold from McDonald's, but at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, it didn't even matter. So, Denton Sachs, again, Severe Studios OG in the chat here, and throwing in his $9.99 toward the cold burger fund. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cold burger funds and whatever's going on right now. I really don't know. But you guys stay safe out there. I'm going to end this stream here.
For helping out. I really appreciate that.
1 second. It is turning 7 Eastern time. Let's see if we're going to get an update right before we cut the stream. down to 125 miles per hour. It's a Cat 3 as of a minute ago. So as of 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Hurricane Ian is down to 125 miles per hour, Cat 3. From the National Hurricane Center just moments ago. Two hours ago, as Ian was making landfall, a private weather station near Port Charlotte reported a sustained wind of 115 miles per hour with a wind gust of 132 miles per hour. So a sustained wind of 115 with a gust of 132. And the center is 25 miles northeast of Punta Gorda. And it's slowed down to a crawl. 1.5 million customers without power, and that number is going to continue to grow. And I'm just reading and listening to Severe Studios, and you guys have a good night. Stay safe. So we listened to the governor earlier, and Severe Studios, thank you for all you've been doing and all the other live streams. I hope that Colson is safe. He got over 1 million views on his stream earlier. Stay safe, y'all.